Okay, yeah, welcome back to our second round of talks in the Modern Work track. I'm switching to English now because one of our following guests is English speaking. And this is Joseph from Kegon and Paul from Seibert. And they will tell us something about modern work in the construction industry, which is maybe not the most easiest and common industry for agile transformations. But let's see, have fun and yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. So actually, yeah, we are very happy that you are here today to discuss with us certain trends in agility in the construction industry. And maybe, Joseph, we can talk a little bit about how the session came up in the end. But first of all, we want to tell you, you don't have to work in the construction industry to participate in this discussion. So we are actually here for an open round of discussion, and we really would like to have you engaged in this session. So please just use the chat if you have any questions, if you want to state your opinion. And same goes like to the people in the room here. Whenever you have a question, just raise your hand.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. So actually, no one needs to be an architect or a Bauingenieur, like you say in Deutsch, to participate, because what we're going to see is just out of two enthusiasts, so that was Paul and myself, we are eager to learn more and check what's the idea behind lean, agile, and the construction work. So is it something feasible? Is it something hard to be done? Or maybe it's already there. It's just maybe not under an umbrella of something called agile or something called lean. So we have 5 points in our agenda. We will talk a little bit about context, general terms about AEC. So when we say AEC, it's architecture, engineering, and construction. Then we will speak about lean wastes. We have prepared a case study, which is the Empire State Building in New York City. I guess majority of us are familiar with it. And we will finish with 3 key takeaways.
But maybe we can also tell a little bit about ourselves and how we relate to the topic today, because you also have a little bit background in this industry, as you will tell us.
Yes.
And I actually don't have a background in this industry, but whenever I see construction sites, you know that, especially in Wiesbaden, we have a lot of pain with construction site. You ask yourself, how can it take that long, actually? And that was why I was very interested in the case study that you will tell us a little bit afterwards. And my occupation here at Seibert is actually I'm responsible for our Google Cloud business, and that's also not related to the topic today. But I am the organizer of the Agile user group in the Frankfurt Rhein-Main area for almost 12 years now. And already 12 years ago, we had topics like how can you do agile for physical products, for example. That's something that we always had as a topic, and we were looking for examples for that. And it's still hard to find examples and case studies. And so I think half a year ago, we started discussing agile in construction.
Yes.
And we try to figure out and find contacts that are working in this environment. And we also want to find out who might be interested in having some kind of special events and so on around agile in the construction industry in the next year. So that's a little bit of the starting point of the discussion. And my role today is pretty cool, because actually Joseph will tell us a little bit, and I'm more here for having a conversation and asking questions. So whenever you have a question here on site and also remote, as I already mentioned, feel free to just raise your hand or ask a question, and I will bring it forward here to Joseph.
Definitely. Yeah, so when it comes to my side, I'm initially an architect, so I studied architecture. I worked in it for 6-7 years, and then I made business in architecture and design in Spain. And this is where the journey started, with a lot of door openers about management in construction, because that's something that we see. And then we had the following problematic: is modern construction agile? Is it lean? What is agile? What is lean? What is construction in itself nowadays? So by a show of hands, we will do some interactions just for some things that we already did, and to make a background information about ourselves. So who comes from any construction industry background? architect, engineer, electrical, mechanical. No one here in the half-half.
Little bit.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Okay, good. By a show of hands, who knows what lean and agile mean or work in lean and agile? Yeah. Now it's more logic. Okay.
Almost everyone.
Almost everyone. Let's speak then a common language that everyone will understand. I guess we all love Kuchen, and especially here at Zybert Media. Yeah. So it's construction projects are simply like a cake bake. You have professionals that they hope they would get the perfect Kuchen am Ende. But yeah, someone is the specialist of flour, another one is the specialist of butter, sugar, aya, milk, and you have this subject matter expert who knows how to roll out the dough. In the end, definitely this will be the result. And that's what we see in our construction projects. Every entity, mechanical, engineer, electrical, they are the best in their field, but they have their own people, their own schedule. And when you have multiple chefs to bake one cake, that would be the result. So if we map it to the construction industry, these are our specialists. And what we would like to do is the following. We want to align them because that's the struggle that we face. And here lean and agile start to enter. It's not in this naive context, but how can we figure out an alignment method so that in the end we can have an homogeneous product, which is our house, to deliver to our client because we're customer-centric. We're not building it for ourselves. We're building it for a family that would like to live in a house, for a company that would like to have an office. So that's the challenge. Now, by a show of hands, how many of you have experienced a home renovation or a room or something? 2, 3.
Roughly half of the room, yeah?
Yeah. And now, raise your hand if it went exactly as planned. What I mean by exactly as planned, budget respected, time agreed upon respected, and you had the desired result, exactly as you dreamt of. Yeah. And another failure for lean and agile in the construction industry. We start without any plan. A failure, maybe. Okay. Now, here's a story for you that synchronizes closely to this discussion. Let's say you're a Geschwindigkeit enthusiast. You like speed. You have required this automotive, this racing car. Now, definitely extra time will be taken to be released. You will pass the budget agreed upon, and in the end, that's car that you will get. It fulfills the same purpose. It will move you from point A to point B, but that's not what you desired. And this is what we are experiencing in construction projects. It takes a lot of time, and in the end, it will be over budget, and that's not what we want. Let's dive in deeper now, take a step inside of the industry itself to understand a little bit its context. Nowadays, construction is not like how it used to be known. It's more of a manufacture. I'm speaking manufacture, then what differs construction then from automotive? It's a manufacture as well industry. In 2009, almost 90% of the production was done in manufacturers, in hangars, and assembled on site for majority of the buildings in China. So that's simply as Lego. Everything is being made in a place, and then on site you just construct the thing, you assemble them. That will lead us to a problem that construction stakeholders have a lack of alignment and communication skills. Because every person, as we have seen, like in the Kuchen, I'm the master of butter, I'm the master of ayer, I know how to roll out the dough, but there's miscommunication between them and alignment before we start to bake this cake. And this is the problem that we experience the most in majority in the construction field. And the market gap is that actually 40%, that's nearly half of the construction industry, they want either to upgrade or have a new software in the next year in their offices. We started to hear another bridge here with the business word software. So I'm construction, I'm speaking about software now. So I'm more belonging towards manufacture, and I have a need, which is software. Okay, good. AI is the new electricity. So in modern work, I always ask this question to myself, why no one brings the topic of construction when we speak about lean and agile? Because we say agile is for digitized industries or at least departments in a full company. And yet we as architects, everything we do is with softwares, with digital stuff, with IoT, with VR, Internet of Things, virtual reality, especially nowadays. We make what we call a digital twin of the real building before we build it. Why is this matter of iteration, retrospective is not here? And like electricity, you can use it and be dead if you don't know how to use it, or it can grant me to showcase what I have prepared today, and that's something good. AI is the same. If we don't know how to use AI in the construction field, it will lead us to failure. Then we need the mastermind behind it, especially that we are more of a manufacturer nowadays. So to practice that, we need to focus on 3 vectors in AEC. We have management. It's easy to be implemented. Majority of construction companies implement agile and lean in management because it's normal management stuff. We have design. And for design as well, it's what we do even before lean, before Toyota, before the 50s. Back from day one, architects are agile in the design phase. We sit with Florian. How would you like your house to be? I draw it, I show it to him, we iterate, we increment. It's easy to change. The challenge is in the construction. I forgot about Florian. I have what we agreed upon, and then here surprises will be made. After 3, 4 years, 5 years, the house is done, Florian will be very disappointed. Because now, after 5 years, that's not what Florian needs. Let's go back in time a little bit. Before Scrum was published, Lean and Agile was there. And that's what we call the last planner system. Construction people use that. And if you think about it, it's nothing but a Kanban board. You have items to do, you have doing and done. And what's good is that you have the feedback and learning here. And feedback and learning is nothing like the iteration, review, and retrospective in order to start back again and iterate. So if we're speaking of a normal Kanban, that's a good starting point as well. Why we hide that? Why we say no common sense to apply agile and lean in construction? Yet, the majority still works like that in construction. You have phase, like these are the requirements. I design, we agree, I build, I deliver, and then there's never-ending maintenance throughout the years. Why don't we have lean and agile and design thinking as a system? And here I would love to quote Russell Acuff. No matter how important the items in your systems are, alone they have no value. Like in a car, what's the most important thing inside of a car? It's the engine. Remove the engine. If I sit on it, it won't take me even centimeters. But inside of the car itself, it's the interaction between its components that make it success. What does that mean? We can see it in the principles of Agile, but initially that means that I cannot say as a construction company, and that's the complete anti-pattern that we see nowadays. We adopt Lean, we use Kanban, we use Atlassian Jira, Confluence, whatever the stuff in our design office. But in construction, we don't use it. That's the failure in itself. It needs to be synchronized across the 3 vectors, management, design, and construction. To jump in more to the problematic, the construction, because in the management and design, it's easy. We will speak something that any agile trainer, consultant, enthusiast would understand, and these are called the lean waste. In lean, we want to improve flow and decrease waste. To overcome this challenge, we have usually 8 lean wastes. I will focus on 5 of them tailored to the construction industry to prove that there are lean waste in the construction as well. The first waste is the waste of unused talent. Especially nowadays, knowledge is not scarce anymore. Anyone, you don't need to be certified in a university, you can learn anything online. To a certain extent, you can learn it wrong, but the informations are available publicly. It's not hard anymore. In construction site, we never listen to our workers. You have this plan, you have this drawing, you do as it is drawn, because that's what the client asked for. So no, this is a kind of waste. Let us hear our professionals. He's a skilled laborers. He knows a lot of stuff that I do not know if I'm an architect sitting behind my office all day long. And he worked, we call it in construction, in the dirt, plastering and in the sand and in the stuff. So let hear these people. The second waste is waiting time. There's a huge amount of waiting times in construction sites, especially that, concrete is not done, I cannot start paint. We are linked by these first fixture, second fixture, third fixture. And this is a big anti-pattern. This is a big problem that we have. Third waste, it's motion, waste of motion, especially for big projects. If we have 3 blocks, I'm the architect on site in block A, there's a labor that needs to speak with me from block C in the underground. I need to come down, there's no elevator yet, and to walk. So have we ever thought about our day-to-day motion on site in the construction field? Because if there are no synchronization, then it will become a waste. And then inventory. We order and order materials, and in majority of the project, I am sure, no matter where we are located, in which culture, in which geography, which country, at the end of every project, there's always extra material. And that's waste. And the last, it's transportation. How many trucks are entering our site per day? How they are moving? How they are delivering the needed material for our inventory? This is another resource for waste. So the result is to separate the non-added value from the added value. And here it's something where we are all familiar of. In order to apply this agile mentality to a construction field, first start by identifying your wastes. Do you have them? Do you have 1, 2, 3 of them? It's great if you found them. Then do what we call the value stream mapping. If you have your wastes, map it to the people responsible. We're speaking about inventory. Then who is the entity responsible in our organization to order materials, to store them? And this is what we call an agile organize around value. In SAFE, it's known under the principle number 10. So we follow where the people who has value and knowledge. And then we speak with them. And here we start to decouple this communication problematic we have before we start the project, so that we can mitigate the risk to come. And then in the end, we will be able to spotlight the flow of material, of people, of information. Then we can say we are synchronized. Once you are synchronized, it's not the 100% done, but at least I'm kind of on the way, on the roadmap. And this needs to be done continuously. It's not only at the start, at the beginning, during and even after. Because everything we want to do is to be sustainable. Sustainable, it means within time it can still survive on its own. If it's not good planned before, at the beginning and during, it won't be able to survive on its own. Now is the butter or the meat behind the presentation today. It's a case study of the Empire State Building. I guess you know, who knows the Empire State Building? Everyone. Let's give it a guess. When was the Empire State Building built? Which year? Just throw numbers. 1925. Anything? 70s. We have a winner. 1930. and rank number 2. 25. It was close. Okay. Now the question. How much time it took the Empire State Building to be built? It was the tallest, highest skyscraper in New York City. That was nearly 100 years ago, so 1930. Technology was not like today, machinery, this stuff. How much time it took to build the Empire State Building? Give it a guess. 1.5 years. 5 years. 3 years. 8 months. It actually took the Empire State Building to be built 8 months in 1930. And today, to change a light bulb in my room, it's been 5 months. I didn't decide yet which lamp to buy in order to change it. Let's see how they were able to do this thing. Let me ask you a question. Where do plans come from? Not plans, drawing plans, like when you plan for a project, schedule, timeline. How do you get them usually? Today. What do you use to build a schedule? Any ideas? At work, how do you plan your work? Excel. Jira. So softwares. So the computer. So most of the time nowadays, plans come from computer. Okay. In the construction field, we have one example of such plans. We call it the MRP plans. Material Requirement Planning. For an OCD person like me, I would fall in love with this because it's like all the colors with the years and the numbers, the prices, inventory, what to order, where to store. Everything is from A to Z. It's built up perfectly fine. But it's hard to adapt such a thing with a customer change requirement. Because if you change one number, you need to restart everything from zero. That's the MRP in brief. Okay, Kanban. I guess we are all familiar with Kanban. Spotlight, whip limit, visualize the progress, to do, doing, done. Okay, that's another way to plan. The LPS that I showed you, the last planner system, which is in the construction field, that was made from the Lean Construction Institute. It's another way of planning. But let's pause for a moment, take a step back. Have we ever, now in the construction field I'm speaking, have we ever asked ourselves how these people used to plan before computer? So now we plan based on computer and we have all these dependencies, all these challenges, due dates, milestones. But how these people did that for a building before computer? That's the Empire State Building topic. So it was exactly delivered on time. In bold, these are the 8 months. So from March 17, 1930 to November 13, 1930. And the opening was in May 1st, 1931. Remember this word, because that's the solution for everything that I will speak from now. It's constraints. We use constraints a lot in construction. In a parallel word, in agility IT, these are known more or less to a certain extent as NFRs, non-functionable requirements, that will guide our work in a backlog, for example. It was 18% under budget, not only in 8 months, it was even 18% under budget. First known constraint, you need to deliver May 1st. It's not by coincidence, but there was a rule in New York City. In order to register your building, that's happening only every year at May 1st. Or else you're not legal, you cannot open. You need to register it. How they were able to do that? They focused on what we call a workflow instead of a normal schedule. I guess majority of us, are you familiar with this image? That's a typical lunch break at the Empire State Building. You can see here Central Park behind them. Interviews made with workers, not these workers, I don't know which workers, but workers from the Empire State Building to ask them, it was an outbreak, 8 months, you made the tallest skyscraper. That was their answer. We know how to build fast. This is routine. It is commonly done. Why are you astonished? Yeah, we know what to do. So these people, first of all, they are confident. And most importantly, they are experts in what they are doing. So, another point. Your teams need to be expert professionals in what you are doing. They know what to do. They are not waiting for someone to tell them what to do. That was the deal. You need to start in spring to finish all the exterior, and in winter, no one cares. You finish the interior because there's rain. So once the exterior, the envelope is done, even if there's snow, I'm inside. I can finish everything. They did that by focusing on what we call a workflow. This is the real steel plan of the Empire State Building. You can see here, it's 82, 84, 86 stories long. Their workflow was made out of 5 items. Information required, mill order, steel, to order the material, finish the details, delivery, and implementation, execution. That's a flow. You notice 2 stuff here. This is called a line of balance. It's typical in construction. The 2 stuffs are the following. They order their material before finalizing their detailed plans and design. Florian and his house. We spent 2-3 years to design and draw and see his wife, his children, what they like, my room, my color, my stuff. And then once it is done, I start to execute and then I start to order material. Here they made the ordering of material before they finished the detailed drawings. Question mark. We will visit that. That's why. That's one of the success. That's one of the 3 key takeaways. And notice between the delivery and the execution. From start, so these are the 8 months that we spoke about. From start to end, there's the same pace, cadence, 2 weeks. Why? Because the second constraint, so first constraint, May 1st, you need to register, you need to be done. Second constraints, you don't have inventory, you are not allowed. You are in the middle of New York City, you don't have the space to put material. If you order the steel, beams, and columns, you need to directly install them, execute it. It was quite respected. A small parenthesis, and that was my aha moment. I learned that Toyota, Taishi Ono, he's not the creator of Lean. Construction is the creator of Lean. Empire State Building, 1930. Taishi Ono, it was in the 50s. This steel schedule that I showed you, we call the line of balance. Goodyear adopted that, the company Goodyear adopted that in the 40s. Germany, we have, I guess, a lot of Germans here. In your Second World War, and that was your success, your airplanes, success for the airplanes, you called it takt. Takt, if I'm not mistaken, it's like beats, like the heartbeat. This word has been internationalized, and this is what in construction we use it for the LPS, the lean planning system. We call it the takt planning. We used your word because you were successful by adopting this line of balance schedule. And from the German, the Japanese took it, automotive manufacturer. They adopted from the airplane to the automotive. And this is now, you know why the slogan of Toyota, it is called line of balance. It's because this schedule is called line of balance. So they adopted it as a slogan and as a way of working. To come back again, these are the 8 months. Look at this progress of these beautiful towers. We spoke about takt, and literally their workflow was called the 4 pacemakers. Pacemakers in auf Deutsch, it's EKG, electrocardiogram. It's this machine you put on your heart. In case you have a rapid heartbeat, it will balance it. So these were the 4 EKG of the Empire State Building. Structure, steel construction, concrete floor construction, exterior metal trim, and exterior limestone. The 4 of them were done before their due date. Look, everything was early. And the third key takeaway now here, break the workflow. Look at the exterior metal trim and windows. They were done in 17 October. Concrete floor construction was done after 70. It was in 22. Back then, that was an outbreak. Today, in a house, if you don't finish the wall and the plastering, please don't start paint. If you, after doing the paint, then you start the fixtures. We call it the whitening. So the washing basin, the seat, toilet seat, all of this stuff. What they made here, they broke it down. They didn't spotlight dependencies and schedule them. They simply broke them so that on cadence, they can work in parallel. If you can finish something before something else, you do it. So, again, if I think about where do plans come from, hopefully we can kill the computer. I don't mean stop using technology. We will be very dumb and stupid if in 2023 we don't do that. But don't let a computer generate a schedule for you where you need then to figure out, how can I fit to this schedule? No, it's the other way around. Remember the word constraint that I told you about. In construction field, I'm speaking only in construction. The first step, know your constraints. By time, by geography, by manpower, by money. After finding constraints, then you design to fulfill these constraints. And the majority of the construction companies come with the design and then check, this is our field, this is the site, these are the constraints. And this is why we receive failures. And it will be hard to work in iteration, in increment, and hard to align. Closing up, let's recap. So this topic, teamwork of owner, architect, and builders. The skilled workers said, we know what to do. This is routine. This is commonly done. Deeply experienced builder in the Empire State Building. No matter how technology will be developed, it will never replace a skilled worker because he works in instinct, in conscious, and this is that machine doesn't have. Cash flow thinking, purely in motive. I need to finish on May 1st. If I don't do it, they will pay a fine. Every day you are late, $10,000. If I merge it to today's inflation, it's nearly $150,000 per day. That's a constraint. And design doesn't generate schedule. It's the other way around. Constraints, I have a schedule, May 1st. And because of that, I generated this design. I made this Empire State Building. The architect didn't have the shape of the building. Before that, they knew what are the constraints. And this is why they were successful to build the tallest skyscraper 100 years back in 8 months. And today, a small, not beautiful house takes around 5 to 6 years to be done of 1 story. That was 86 stories in 8 months. So building was designed to meet constraints. And this is where construction doesn't mean the normal IT software background. Unlike PMI, we do what we call work breakdown. You have a huge bunch of tasks, you break it down, and then you schedule. No, in construction, you cannot do that. You start with the constraints, and based on them, you plan. And you work in workflow. Do you know this gentleman?
The architect behind the...
No, that's your architect from your background. That's Conway, Mr. Conway. Conway's law. Are you familiar with Conway's law? Yes and no. Okay, for those who said no, it's simple. We're speaking here software. This is your software, then your organization will follow its form. That was 1967. 1896, this is a beautiful architect, Louis Sullivan. He built what we call the form follows function. That's a school we learn in architecture. It means that design comes after purpose. Purpose are the constraints. I need to know the constraints, then design. And this is you German people, you know it. That came in 1919 in Weimar, which is one of the best architectural schools I love. It's the Bauhaus. And it's nothing except form follows function. Based on the function I have, I come with the design and form. 3 key takeaways to repeat them, the lessons learned. 1, design system. Constraint shape the design and not the other way around. 2, decouple workflow. If concrete is not done, doesn't mean I need to stop everything else, or else I will never be done. It needs to work in harmony, in cadence, in synchronization. And 3, workflow rather than schedule. Schedule by their nature are linear. It's hard to adapt, to steer, to change. Rather than workflow, it's easy to decouple. It's easy to work on cadence and to change and adapt fast. Lastly, to close up by a quote of Edwards Deming, who's has nothing to do with construction, but his quote is great because 94% of problems in business are system-driven and only 6% are people. And even in construction industries, nowadays we want to recruit the best architects, the millennial generation Z, because they know how to use softwares, we can build digital twins. It's not the people that you miss, it's the current infrastructure and system that you have that needs to be changed before to focus on people. Change the environment, people will adapt. Keep with the same environment, no matter how skilled laborers you will get inside the system, they will be outside after a certain time. And that was it.
So, thanks, Joseph. I think that was really thought-provoking, and I was really impressed by this example. I didn't know about that, and I think it's the same with you. And actually, we wanted to invite you to connect with us, not only through this LinkedIn QR codes, but also maybe if you are in the chat, for example, maybe you can connect to us and by show of hand, for example, indicate whether you're interested in going on with this kind of discussion, because currently we have more questions actually.
Yeah.
You shared some thoughts, but we still have more questions than answers when it comes to this topic. So before we start asking some questions here also in the room, please just write a short message in the chat when you want to continue the discussion with us and reach out to us.
I just would like to highlight one thing, that as we started in the first slide when we presented ourselves, we're not claiming that we are coming with solution. That's not our target. We are simply enthusiasts. I'm coming from the background. He's not coming from the construction background, but we're just amazed to think and see together, why is this thing not more commonly known, since it affected and inspired lean and agile, as per the presentation like we have seen. So if any enthusiast is like us, let's build these bridges together.
So there's one question. Can we get the slides?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, definitely. You will even receive the video of the talk.
I guess, yeah,
so
it's
you can
registered
even
by
share it
you
afterwards.
on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. We'll share it, and we'll also reach out to you. Thanks for the question. Anybody in the room here, do you have any question? You can make it a very easy job for me by raising your own questions, or otherwise I definitely have some questions for Joseph. Florian, okay, no, go ahead.
No, I have to think about it.
Okay, then think about it. So, Joseph,
Yes.
you described that on this construction site at the Empire State Building, this was a group of experts.
Mm-hmm.
But we also had your cake example where everybody was like expert in one task.
Yeah.
Coming back to what we know from software development, if we are working with Scrum, for example, we are saying we don't have a front-end specialist and engineer and a back-end developer and so on, but we try to see like the whole team as a dev team and then see that everybody contributes whatever they can do. Do you see any parallels between this, that back then everybody was working on everything that had to be done, rather than having like experts that are only experts for one specific task? And then you have all those handovers from I did this step and now someone else needs to come in to do the next step and so on.
Exactly. Actually, it's quite interesting because, yeah, as it was seen, the people, the group of the architect company that built, came with the design of the Empire State Building, they made the life of the workers very easy, because based on the context where we're situated, based on the constraints that we had in terms of material flow, inventory, we have no space. They even invested, they gave money to make the rail, they have a private railroad station to move the materials. They made the life and every day's task way easy for these experts in order to be inside of a system. And not like they came up with a very beautiful, there are a lot of beautiful designs of towers, more than the Empire State Building. But then that wouldn't fit the context and don't address the constraints. So again, experts alone won't help. A great architect alone won't help. But the alignment together will lead to such a success story. And that's it. There is misalignment in construction projects between the experts that will lead to this cake bake, which is a failure. But once you sit, speak, align, based on real constraints, time, May 1st, value, money, you pay fines if you are late, geographical constraints, they are addressed, okay, I can start building. Now the expertise will be an added value.
Okay, one question here from the audience.
Yes, building a skyscraper is kind of repetitive, story after story after story.
Yes.
How would you adapt this repetitive process to more chaotic things like users finding bugs in software development that just jump into the development pipeline somewhere along the way?
Yeah, it is definitely hard. Again, it's challenging. Nothing is easy to be done. But if you it's always stage 0 before step 1. If step 0 is being done and fulfilled, what do I mean by step 0? You speak in a round table transparently with all the experts beforehand, even if they come at a later stage in time. And you plan together, you take into consideration their need, and you build it up with the agreement of everyone. then I am sure even in complex environment, it will be easier to adapt in the future than if you don't do it.
Okay, they actually want to throw us out of the room, but
Yeah,
I wanted
I
to
noticed.
pick up one question from the chat at least.
Yeah.
The question is, would you agree that the major difference between construction industry and IT business is the general trend that in construction the companies involved work against each other instead of partnering to the benefit of the project? And how can we overcome that?
Yeah, actually, it's a competition, and that's the negative aspect of a competition. Every person would like to succeed. I do agree with the last part of the sentence. This is regarding the zeal of the main company, for example. As an architect, when I come to a construction field, and that, yeah, I do it. I don't care about the bow engineer, the civil engineer. For me, I want my name to be, this is the architect, even if he will fail. I never think about it as a project. I think about it as my part of the project. So that's the mistake. And if it's IT, construction, food, healthcare, if, again, communication, transparency, and alignment are not sustained, it will lead to such behaviors where every person will be selfish, me and my team, to achieve our schedule. And I guess in any project, in any industry, you have several experts, and each of them have a perfect schedule, but you cannot have 10 perfect schedules, or else none of them will reach the final point.
So I think we have to take the last part of the question, how can we overcome that, to some kind of conversation next year then.
It's
right?
a great idea to start with.
Yeah, so maybe we can see whether we find some companies that would also be interested in overcoming those issues, and then we can discuss that next year together.
Yeah, thank you so much for the online audience and for the room audience as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. A little present from our side. It's a donation voucher
Thank you
that
so
you
much.
can change in downstairs. And yeah, some last words before we go to lunch break. So we will have a lunch break of 1 hour now. So no tracks and talks to this time. The online guests can join the networking sessions and try to connect online. We will have some delicious food and then see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.